Hello viewer, and welcome to episode 14 behind the scenes of my mind. Today I'll sketch the story of my classic Voltron and legendary Defender Voltron fan art. So, spoiler warning just in case, and let's get to it. So, Voltron. Its basic premise is a bunch of robot lions forming together to become a giant robot, battling against other giant robots and giant monsters. Fun, simple concept for children and man-children. Guess which one I am. Fortunately, the Netflix series Voltron Legendary Defenders makes this premise much more appealing to a wider audience, at least in my opinion, by fleshing out their characters and having a mostly well-written story. Yes, there are, shall we say, plot conveniences and story threads that didn't really pay off, to me at least, but there were some really good moments and it still made me feel things. Plus, the story does explore some very real themes, predominantly, in my opinion, the concept of balancing between an individual's own goals compared with the goals of their associated group or institution. This is commonly explored with all members of Team Voltron, where each member have had some conflict between their needs and the needs of the team. Now, I'll preface this by saying that some character arcs definitely could have been explored better in the series, and also I will be glossing over a lot of things to keep things brief. And of course you can check out the series yourself to learn more and make your own judgment. Starting with Pidge, or Katie Holt, she is part of a close-knit family, and in the start of her series, her dad Sam and brother Matt are missing. She starts with a single focus towards looking for them initially, deciding to leave Team Voltron in search for them. However, after battling alongside Team Voltron, she learns that the familial bond she starts to form with Team Voltron becomes just as important as her bond with her family. Next, there's Keith, the reluctant leader, looking to find his sense of self, having discovered he is half Galra. He joins the Blade, an organization of Galra rebels, to get in touch with his Galra side. From there, he is constantly balancing his time as the new literal head of Voltron and trying to discover himself, so to speak. As for the first Voltron leader, Shiro, he's the ideal leader of the team who can be both caring and commanding when necessary. The conflict arises when he neglects his own well-being and doesn't ask for help, made worse by his PTSD having been previously captured by the Galra. By the end of the series, Shiro does sort of take a back seat, but still actively supports Team Voltron, and from there I presume he is working on coping with his PTSD. Next, there's Lance, who I see as the type of person who tries to find the next thrill in his life with no real goal in sight. And as venturous as becoming a Lion Paladin is, Lance is shown to doubt himself, acknowledging his friends' contributions, but fails to see his own. He does, however, grow to realize his worth to Team Voltron, having legitimately saved his friends a couple of times. And there's Hunk, the typical teddy bear. Big strong guy who is chill and easygoing, with a knack for helping people. There's very little conflict with his own goals being part of Team Voltron. In fact, the conflict appears to be Hunk trying to fulfill his duties to the fullest, and convincing the rest of Team Voltron to join him. Finally, there's Allura, a capable leader and diplomat but still has a lot to learn. Her own conflict appears to be trying to find her own happiness while taking up the responsibilities associated with being part of Team Voltron and being burdened by the near genocide of her fellow Altaians, due in large part to Zarkon's Galra Empire. And after a lot of bumps along the way, she does appear to find her own happiness towards the end of the series. Again, this is just my take on the Legendary Defenders, and I am glossing over a lot. Feel free to agree or disagree with me. As for the classic Voltron, didn't see much of it. The design was cool, so I wanted to draw it. Well, I've joined all the Lion Paladins for my inspiration. Now to form the inking process. My unique flair was to have the Legendary Defender Voltron and Classic Voltron standing side to side in the fan art, which probably isn't shown much in Voltron fan art to my knowledge. Looking at it in hindsight, I realize I proportioned the Classic Voltron too wide compared to the Legendary Defender one. That's something to work on in future. For contrast between the two Voltrons, I had the Legendary Defender wielding blast weapons and the classic one wielding a melee weapon. Legendary Defender had the shoulder cannon because it had a nice balance of looking cool and being easy to draw, and I had him using the Lionhead cannon because I preferred Legendary Defender's Lionhead design compared to the classic one. And conversely, of course, classic Voltron had the sword, at least what little of it you could see, because I preferred its design compared to the sword of the Legendary Defender's Voltron. I chose the background to include an Earth-like planet to help fill up the emptiness of space, and it kinda looks cool having it hover over the two Voltrons. I didn't try to draw in any distinct continents on the planet. I didn't want to give much emphasis on any one continent or country in our real life Earth, because I believe we are all equally insignificant in this universe. So the final slogan, Voltron can rely on them. I believe it's very appropriate for the fan art. Voltron is composed of lion robots, and they have been shown to be reliable at defeating giant monsters or other giant robots. So it makes sense to me. Overall, a decent drawing of the Voltrons, some shaky line work and uneven proportions, but they still look cool, to me. I'm especially happy with how the Lionhead cannon turned out. So, no lion, I would say I assembled a decent bit of Voltron fan art. Okay, that's it for this episode. Hope I could entertain or at least distract you. Thanks for watching, and hope to sketch you in the next vid.